Happy Wednesday, everyone. We are in our way into week 2 now. So I wanted to give this week's announcement regarding what expectations are for this week, how last week went, and what we can expect for the upcoming weeks. So first of all, last week, let's get into it. Like I said in last week's video, it was a lot of work. I wasn't asking for a small thing from you. I was asking for full-fledged discussion and then a museum tour. It looks like you guys were all able to get in, do the discussion, meet your classmates, and I hope you found someone that you can connect with, someone that maybe is in the same program as you or is interested in the same things as you are. These are really great ways to start classmate relationships there, where maybe you'll have each other in another class or whatnot. From the discussions that I went through and read, and like I said last week in the discussion, you guys really were able to pull out of the media that we live in nowadays, which is film, book, documentaries, docuseries. You pulled out really good information on perspectives and how that influenced what we know about the historical event. So what I want you to do moving forward is keep that in mind. Keep in mind how we utilize media, whether it's sources, whether it's sitting around our table at dinner time talking about something, or picking a movie to watch that night. Media has a big play in how we learn and what we learn. And now that's kind of what brings us to this week. So this week, as you saw in my announcements, it's called The Proposal. Last week, you kind of learned and got your way around the class. This week, you're starting to look at your proposal for what you will be writing your final project on. Excuse me. So I really want you to spend this week starting to look at the big picture, starting to look at what you want to get out of this course. So things like, what's a big historical event that you know about that really impacted your life or of those around you? I want you to think out of the box. You don't have to do American history. That's the big thing that I always try to push out. A lot of people will do US history, but it doesn't have to be that. If you go into the project resources section of the of the class, it has some resources and some topics that you can pick from, things like Juneteenth, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the apartheid in Africa, or South Africa, I should say, Seneca Falls Convention, Stonewall Rebellion, if you're looking at LGBTQ rights, the creation of Earth Day, the Miranda rights, which we have all learned about over the years. If you want to look more in the education aspect, you could look at Brown v. Board, you could look at the Little Rock Nine. There's a bunch of different directions you can go in. You are not just stuck with what is in this resource guide. If you want to do a historical event on something like the collapse of the Berlin Wall, there's so many different choices that you could do. If you want to do something on a small piece of World War I or World War II, the big thing that I want you to think about is that I want you to be able to narrow it down. This is not a museum. You're creating an exhibit within a museum, and I want you guys to remember that for your project. You're creating an exhibit within the museum. So you're like last week, and I feel like she's gonna howl behind me. Last week, you looked at different exhibits in museums. Now it's your turn to make those exhibits. So if you are trying to pick something, say you want to do World War II, then pick something small. within World War II. You could dedicate a whole entire museum to World War II, and that's not what we're looking for you to do here. We're looking for you to pick one piece of World War II. So you could do D-Day, you could do the dropping of the bombs, you could do the invasion of Poland. Smaller events within a large-scale event are perfectly fine. Now, I want you to be really clear as you're moving forward with your proposal on things that you will need. The two big things I want you to look at when you're starting to pick your topic in your proposal is your sources. Do you have enough? I am looking for you guys within the next couple of weeks. You'll be submitting to me work regarding 5 secondary sources and 5 primary sources. Next week, we'll kind of go a little bit more into what is a primary source, what is a secondary source, which is all things that you may know of and you may have it down, and that's fine. But others might not. Sometimes if you're not in the world of history all the time, it's not right there center focus for you. So I will just do a recap next week regarding what is the difference between secondary, primary, and throw in a little nugget there, tertiary sources. And that will help you as you continue to progress through the course. So for this week, for instruction, you have 2 assignments. One is optional, the other is not optional. So your discussion this week is optional. This is a great place for you, again, to start getting in and working on those relationships with your classmates and getting their input or seeing what someone else might be working on for their topic and see if that's something that interests you. Work off of each other. I will be hopping in and out of these discussions, but I'm really, really hoping that you guys use these discussions to make sure that you're kind of pushing each other's brains a little bit more than you normally would. Why do you want to focus on the Miranda rights? What's interesting about it to you? Why do you want to focus on the Stonewall Rebellion? Why does that interest you? Do you think you can have enough? And I really want you to use this discussion to do that. And then the next assignment that you have is that proposal that I was talking about. So I will be sending out probably tomorrow's Thursday, so I'll probably send it out tomorrow. But I want you guys to take a look at the rubric, work your way through the rubric to make sure you hit all the points. I will say this week in and week out, rubric. If it's not on if you put something in your paper or you don't put something in your paper that's on the rubric, I have to put a 0 in for it and it will kill my heart. So please don't do that. So for this project proposal, super easy, you're gonna have a template. So you don't have to write a paper. I'm not looking for you to have an introduction, some body reasons of why you wanna do it, your primary sources, and then a conclusion and a reference page. I'm not looking for that. Use the rubric. Make it easy for you. Work smarter, not harder. So what you're gonna do is you are going to pick your topic. Simple, right at the top. My topic is blah. Why you chose the project. If you chose it because you say you wanted to learn more about it, because I never learned about this and I want to learn about it now. I had a family member impacted by this and I want to learn more so that I feel more well equipped to talk about it. Stuff like that. And then I also want you to think about, on the other side, why would an audience want to be interested in this topic? Why should they be interested in this topic? So if you're talking about Miranda rights, why would an audience be interested in learning about the Miranda rights? What are they going to take away from it? We've all heard that you have the right to remain silent. Anything you can say, everything you say can or will be used against you in a court of law, blah, 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 blah. But why would they be interested in that? And then after you do that, you're going to find 5 primary sources. Please, please, please remember, primary sources are the first artifact, the first piece of your event. So these are not, if your event happened in the 70s and your source was written in the 2000s, it's probably not a primary source unless it's a bunch of letters or diary entries written by someone who went through the event and it just happened to be published as a book in the 2000s. That's okay. But your primary source should be at the time of the event. Newspaper articles, diary entries, memoirs, photos, things like that. Data, not really a primary source because it happened over time. It's not a screenshot of the event. Think about it that way. Is this a screenshot of the event? If so, cool, go for it. So you're going to have your, excuse me, my brain. You're going to have your primary source. You're going to have what type of primary source or artifact that we have. So if it's a photo, if it's a book, if it's a newspaper article, then you're going to include the link of where you found it. Links might be long. It's okay. Put it in. And then how it relates to your subject. So say you're doing the flu of 1918, the Spanish flu, whatever you want to call it. If you have a picture of a hospital that was inundated with patients, you're going to say this relates to my subject because this is a picture of how bad it was in the hospitals because they didn't know how to treat the patients, whatever have you. So this is how you kind of want to look into, you're not just going through and say, oh, this looks good, pick it. I want you to really think about it. Think about what makes that primary source important to your event. Another question that I did already receive, and I wanted to bring it up here because it's a really valid question, is does everything have to come from the Shapiro Library? Answer to that, no. It doesn't have to come from the Shapiro Library, but I want you to vet your sources. So I don't want to see history.com, definitely not wikipedia.com. Encyclopedias are okay, but again, not a primary source, so they wouldn't work for this week. So think about where you're getting your source from if it's not from the library. But you're not stuck just at the Shapiro Library. I know it can be difficult to get through everything at the library, feel like you're inundated with information, and then trying to figure out where it's from going. But I get it, guys, I get it. I've written plenty of papers. If you feel like you're starting to get overwhelmed, your hair is starting to look like Albert Einstein's, you can't tell up from down, walk away. I remember instances where when I was up working on my bachelor's up in Maine, I was writing my thesis on Queen Elizabeth I and how she created nationalism through the spread of Protestantism. Yeah, you can imagine the holes and rabbit holes I went down for that. But I remember points in time where I was just in the library with books all around me, not knowing even what the book in my hand was I was going to be using it for. If you get to that point, step back, walk away, get a sip of water, go to the bathroom, go for a quick walk, do what you can, but just step away because you are going to find yourself going down rabbit holes that you don't need to go down, and then you're Alice in Wonderland trying to figure out right from wrong. Don't do that to yourself. So take it easy going through this proposal. If you decide that you want to change your proposal later on, just let me know. I'm not going to make you rewrite the proposal, but I want to make sure that you have all the right information, and we'll kind of go from there. So again, for this week, discussion is optional but recommended. and you have your project proposal to get into me by midnight on Sunday. Like I said last week, if you aren't going to get it in to me by midnight on Sunday, for this week, since now we're in week 2, it is midnight your time. So usually if I see something that was sent at like 12:59 a.m., I'm guessing that you're probably in a different area code, not area code, sorry, time zone, and I get it. So usually when it comes to those like hours in the wee morning on Sunday, I'm not gonna mark you off for that. But let me know if you think it's gonna be later than Monday morning, because then I will just keep an eye out for yours. As you saw this week, if you weren't able to submit anything by the deadline, I did put in the zeros. We are required at SNHU to put in zeros for any work that is not completed in that week, and then we work through making sure that you guys can get on the get your grades that you deserve for the work that you submitted. So this is a really important time for you to open that discussion with me. I try to respond as quickly as I can. I'm usually always at my desk during the day, so just shoot me an email and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Other than that, I think you guys are gonna do great this term. Your thoughts in the first week of discussion, I'm hoping to get to finishing grading tomorrow. You're in the right spot. Keep pushing, reach out with questions, and always remember, if you have a question, most likely someone else has the question too, so don't hesitate to put it in the general information, and we'll go from there. I hope you guys have a great week this week, and we'll go from there. Have a good one, guys.